You're listening to an AI-generated audio recording based on the voice of Patrick Goulet, Director of Performance Marketing, brought to you by Manticore Marketing. We use AI voice technology to make our content easier to consume, whenever and wherever works best for you. Now, let's dive in to discuss Manticore's blog article, Account-Based Marketing Strategy: Why Mindset Matters More Than Tactics. Most B2B marketers are playing the wrong game. They're optimizing for clicks, celebrating open rates, chasing MQL targets, and reporting on impressions, while their ideal clients are quietly, methodically evaluating someone else. Someone who didn't interrupt them with an ad. Someone who's been showing up consistently in the right places, saying smart things, and earning their trust over months. That's the gap. And it's not a gap in tools, tactics, or budget. It's a gap in mindset. Account-based marketing, ABM, has become one of the most talked about strategies in B2B, but most of the conversation is tactical. Which platform to use, how to build a target account list, how to run a one-to-one campaign, all of that has its place. But underneath the tactics is something more fundamental, a completely different way of thinking about how trust is built and how enterprise clients are actually won. In a recent episode of Ad Nauseam, the Manticore Marketing podcast, I sat down with Rob, co-founder of Manticore, to dig into exactly this. Not the playbook, the philosophy, the mindset shift that separates B2B marketers who grind through campaigns quarter after quarter with inconsistent results from those who build sustainable pipelines and become known quantities in their space. There's a reason so many B2B marketing teams feel like they're working hard, but not moving the needle. The frameworks they're using were built for a different context: high volume, low touch, fast conversion cycles. Those frameworks work in e-commerce, in consumer apps, in low-ticket SaaS. But when you're selling to organizations with six-figure budgets, long decision timelines, and committees of stakeholders, all with different priorities and concerns, spray and pray demand generation doesn't just underperform, it can actively damage your credibility. The pressure to show short-term ROI pushes marketers into behaviors that are fundamentally misaligned with how enterprise buying actually works. You run a campaign, it doesn't convert in 30 days, the campaign gets killed and you move on, but the target account was still evaluating. They just stopped hearing from you and started hearing from someone else. Short-term thinking is the silent killer of long-term B2B pipeline. You don't lose the deal in month 12. You lose it in month 1 when you optimize for the click instead of the relationship. Vanity metrics are part of the problem. Impressions feel like reach, clicks feel like interest, open rates feel like engagement. But in enterprise B2B, none of these are proxies for what you actually need: trust, familiarity, and authority within a specific set of accounts. You can have 10,000 impressions across a broad audience and be completely invisible to the CFO at your dream client. The ABM mindset starts by questioning the metrics, not just how many people saw your content, but who saw it and what do they think of you now. Let's be clear about what this article is and isn't. This is not a walkthrough of ABM platforms, intent data tools, or how to build a one-to-one account campaign. There's plenty of great tactical content out there for that. This is about the shift in orientation that happens when you truly internalize what ABM is designed to do and start applying that thinking to every marketing decision you make, whether or not you're running a formal ABM program. At its core, the ABM mindset does three things differently. First, it thinks in accounts, not leads. A lead is a person, an account is an organization, and in enterprise B2B, buying decisions are made by groups of people: champions, end users, finance, legal, and executive sponsors. When you think in leads, you optimize for the person who filled out your form. When you think in accounts, you start asking, are we building presence and trust across the entire decision-making group? Are we relevant to the CFO, not just the manager who downloaded our ebook second? It measures depth over breadth. Reach is a B2C metric. In B2B, you'd rather be deeply embedded in the thinking of 50 accounts than superficially visible to 5,000 contacts. The ABM mindset reorients your success metrics around engagement quality within specific accounts, not aggregate campaign numbers. Third, it plays a long game. Enterprise buying cycles are not weeks. They're quarters, sometimes years. A company might be in research mode for 8 months before they ever make contact with a vendor. If your marketing is only active when there's a live RFP, you've already lost. The ABM mindset asks, are we in the conversation before the conversation officially starts? You don't plant a seed and pull it up the next day to check if it's growing. You prepare the soil, plant with intention, water consistently, and trust the process. A BM is gardening, not hunting. This metaphor came up naturally in our conversation with Rob, and it stuck. Most B2B marketing is built on a hunting model. Identify prey, deploy weapon, measure kill rate. A BM is a gardening model. Prepare, plant, nurture, wait, harvest. The harvest comes, but only for those who tended the garden. Here's a reframe that changes how you think about every piece of content you create, every event you attend, every LinkedIn post you publish. In B2B marketing, trust is the product. Your actual service is what they buy. But trust is what gets them to the conversation. Enterprise clients don't buy from vendors. They buy from partners they trust, and that trust is not built by running ads at them. It's built through consistent, credible, intelligent presence over time. What does that look like in practice? It looks like thought leadership that makes your prospects smarter, not content that pitches your services. It looks like showing up in the places they pay attention to: LinkedIn, niche industry publications, conferences, podcasts. It looks like having a visible, credible point of view on the things they care about. And crucially, it looks like the people inside your organization, the founders, the strategists, the subject matter experts, being recognizable and respected in the market. When a buying committee is shortlisting agencies or vendors, one of the first things they do is Google the people they'd be working with. What do they find? A blank LinkedIn profile and a company website, or a body of work, articles, podcast appearances, conference talks, LinkedIn content that demonstrates genuine expertise and a real perspective on their world. This is where the podcast itself is an example of the ABM mindset in action. Recording these conversations isn't just content production, it's relationship building in public. It's establishing authority. It's creating the kind of material that a target account might find 6 months before they're ready to talk and remember when they are. The marketers who consistently win enterprise deals aren't the best at running campaigns. They're the best at being known and trusted before the campaign was ever needed. The shift to an ABM mindset isn't about learning new tools, it's about asking different questions. Here's what changes when you genuinely make this switch. You stop asking, how many people saw this? And start asking, did the right people see this? And what do they think of us now? Reach becomes secondary to relevance. You'd rather have 3 stakeholders at a target account engage deeply with a piece of content than have 3,000 random contacts scroll past it. You stop writing content for algorithms and start writing for actual decision makers. A blog post optimized purely for search traffic is very different from a blog post written to resonate with a VP of operations at a mid-market professional services firm. The ABM mindset writes for the person in the account, not the search engine spider. You stop measuring campaign success at week 2. You start tracking account level engagement over quarters. Which accounts are we seeing repeatedly? Which contacts within those accounts are engaging with multiple pieces of content? Are we getting warmer within these organizations over time? These are the signals that matter. You collaborate more deeply with whoever owns business development and client relationships. A BM is not a marketing only motion. It requires alignment between the people doing marketing and the people having conversations with prospects. What objections are coming up in sales calls? What questions do prospects keep asking? That intelligence should be feeding directly into your content and positioning. And perhaps most importantly, you become comfortable with the idea that marketing's most important work is often invisible in the short term. The article that a prospect read 8 months before they reached out. The podcast episode that made a decision maker feel like you get it. The LinkedIn post that got screenshotted and shared in a Slack channel you'll never see. This is where ABM-minded marketing lives, and it's where it wins. There's no version of B2B enterprise marketing where shortcuts win long-term. The companies that show up consistently, that earn genuine authority in their space, that build real relationships before the RFP drops, that educate instead of interrupt, those are the companies that find themselves on shortlists. Those are the companies whose calls get returned. And the irony is that the ABM mindset, for all its emphasis on patience and long-term thinking, often produces faster results than the spray and pray approach it replaces, not because it shortcuts the trust building process, it doesn't, but because when you're marketing to the right accounts with the right message at the right depth, you're not wasting resources on noise. Every dollar, every hour, every piece of content is working toward the same set of targets. A BM is less aggressive than traditional demand generation. It doesn't chase, it doesn't interrupt. It's not louder than the competition. It's smarter. It shows up where your ideal clients are already paying attention, says something worth paying attention to, and does that again and again until the moment arrives when those clients are ready to have a conversation. And when that moment comes, you're not a cold outreach. You're a familiar voice they already respect. About this article, this piece was inspired by a conversation between Patrick Goulet, Director of Performance Marketing, and Rob Elbaz, co-founder of Manticore Marketing, recorded on the Ad Nauseum podcast. If you're a B2B marketer who wants to go deeper on these ideas, the philosophy, the mindset, and yes, eventually the tactics, give the episode a listen. Manticore Marketing is a B2B digital marketing agency specializing in account-based marketing, omni-channel strategy, SEO, paid search and social, and marketing operations. If your organization is serious about the long game in B2B, we'd love to talk.